Okay, here we are for reveal number 749. This is a 1972 Philadelphia roll. It had been an original paper wrap roll, and during an earlier reveal, I accidentally opened this roll instead of the one intended, and then I immediately tubed it up and opened the intended roll. So this one is in a tube, even though it is an original 1972 roll. So you just have to trust me and believe. You could go back to that particular show. I don't remember exactly which one it was, where I had a paper wrapped roll I was supposed to open and thought this 72 was that roll and opened this instead. But we will get started here on this one. No, this roll is, I put it in the tube. I took it out of the original paper and accidentally took it out at the wrong time. I had a different roll I was supposed to be doing. And then, so this one came out, and it wasn't supposed to, so I stuck it in a tube. I was going to do that reveal again later in the day, and I ended up not doing it, and so here we are a week or so later. Some people may or may not remember, but this was an original wrapped roll when I got to it. So we're going to see what we have in it now. Good sign is that this does not have the master die doubling. Look at that original beard detail on there. Somebody scrawled stuff on the original hub. We'll look at the reverse of the first few coins, but I'm telling you, we're really going to focus on the obverses here. This is not a bad looking coin at all. So that's our first coin out of the way. Coin number 2 now. Dan McCumber. Here we are, Mr. Dan. Let's see what we get for you. Remember, I was talking about this roll back when I originally found it to run it, that it was one of those rolls that has some chance of having some of the original 10 double dies in it, because all of those were made during a period of time that the master die with the doubling on it was not being used. This is one such roll, so we will see if we happen to run into double dies. Not here. Let's check the reverse on this one real quick. Let me get my keyboard out of the way. I don't need a keyboard while I'm running this show. I need it to set up the show, but not while I'm actually doing it. I'm feeling pretty good today. I do have a bit of a headache, but I think ibuprofen will take care of that. Boy, I couldn't live without Dr. Stuart Adams and Mr. Nicholson, the two people who invented ibuprofen in England back in the 50s. It's now available in over 80 countries worldwide. No other remedy for my headaches. Excedrin, Tylenol, aspirin, none of that ever worked for a headache. For me, ibuprofen is the only one that will. And as long as I get it on board kind of early into the headache, it usually snaps them off at the neck and does pretty good for me. Looking to see if we can find anything here. 1972 is definitely a big hit or a big miss. You either get really good stuff or you get nothing at all. There's kind of not really an in-between. There's no maybe okays. It's either great or it's nothing. Nothing at all, man. And we're up to coin number 7 without having found anything yet. But that's not necessarily an issue. I've been through original rolls and found that 45, 46 coins, there's nothing. And then 3, 4, 5 coins does the trick for the entire roll. Stiff neck, huh? Yeah. You know, and I know some of it's got to be from either the way I sleep or the way I hold my head when I'm watching TV or whatever. Yeah, it can't all be just uncontrollable sources suddenly rearing their ugly heads at me. This one appears to turn it this way to see. No, it is not. It is not the master die doubling, so we keep moving right along. Taco John. Next coin. Let's see what we get here. These little things on the 2, you see little tiny flangellets coming off the upper part of the bar on the 2. Some of these have been listed by others, some have not. Some are decent, some are not. But there's only one that in the grand scheme of things actually counts, and it is a cherry picker listed variety. It is double die obverse number 9. DDO number 9 is a nice one. It's nicer than most of the rest of these that you see that just have a little flangellet. Where are we? Come here, coin. What am I doing? Here we go. Okay. There, we found it. Was it worth the wait? We'll see. No. Nothing there. Nothing there. Explain the flangel thing on my updates site. Update site. I'm not really sure I understand what an update site is. I mean, I can probably do a little short video on it or something. I don't know. Update. Oh, updated website. Okay, when the website is rewritten. It will be eventually. The first iteration of going through the idea of redoing a website is to redress what I already have into something that's easier to drive. Then I'll start adding features to it. But basically, I need to construct a framework. You know, I need to get a good strong box for the website, and then we can start adding more stuff to it. It's going to take a while for all that to happen, but definitely going to give it a shot. Today and tomorrow are going to be days to work on my new book. And so the little rough edge to the top of the horizontal bar on the 2, there is a double die. There's a decent double die, a nice one that's out there, and it's listed. And it's substantially nicer than what you've seen here on this roll. Let me do a short, huh? I can do that. I don't exactly know how long it would need to be for me to explain what I'm talking about. But I would have to go through a few more rolls of 72s just to find coins that work for the sample, for the example, for the speech, the talk, the lesson. Let's see. These coins are steadily getting worse as I go through the roll. This was an original machine wrap roll when I came upon it. But yes, I will find a good way to explain that information, get it into a video or something. The idea with regard to the new website will be to create videos on all those different things of all the different years where people have asked questions that need to be answered, and then link those videos or embed those videos directly into my website from YouTube, so that YouTube gives me credit for people watching my creativity with regard to coin information. That way they've also got a good home in which they can reside, because YouTube is a better streaming place than my web host would be. Okay, Frosty, give me a call. It's going to be probably an hour or so. Probably around 1:30, which will be 12 to 12:30 your time. But, so here's my vision, my idea, my thought. Say like 1970, okay? You find the 1970 date guide, and you're looking for the difference between a 1970S large and small date. And when you get to the 1970S date guide, you'll find a couple of articles and a couple of videos about 1970. And one of those videos will be about telling the difference between the 70S large and small date. Then there might actually be other information, like an article with photographs that you can go look at and read that cover the same topic, and all of those will be linked from the same place in the 1970 date guide on the website. But you will also, if you're channel surfing and playing around on YouTube, you'll also be able to find that same video and watch it directly on YouTube. Either way, because I am embedding a YouTube video into my website, YouTube will give me credit all the same for you having watched the video. And trust me, the credit adds up over time. One view is worth like a millionth of a penny, but 100 views can be worth a few cents. 1,000 views could be worth $1 or $2. And anything I can get that helps my meager little income out is much appreciated with regard to views on my videos. And full views at that. And I'm going to construct a master playlist for my members that I would request that sometime you just go in and start watching that that overall playlist as kind of a nap time or bedtime story, and just let it play all the way through. And that would help you learn and help me with my channel a lot. Here's one for Chuck Patillo. We've got some nice looking coins, a few nice looking coins in this roll. Actually, very nice looking coins. But we're not finding any double dies, which is not highly surprising. But you know what? If you don't look, you can't find them. So no, things like that are called, I'm edited it, said he found a modern Washington quarter where Washington has a booger. Stuff like that's not actually listed as varieties because they are not varieties. And generally, when you're looking at listings, trying to find listings for an anomaly, you're looking for varieties, die varieties. And the reason people can list those is because they are listable by the die that made the coin. Now, what you're talking about is called a die error. And sometimes they can be extremely minor die errors. And those have a tendency to be very small. And people generally don't list them. So die cracks and die chips and other little anomalies typically just go by the wayside into flips and have a cutesy little name attached to them, and they're sold for a couple of dollars, and they never actually end up making it into any books or anything else. Now, little things with names like, Washington Booger Quarter, they can sometimes grab the attention of people and cause a little bit of a frenzy. And sometimes they can actually have some established value. But I say sometimes with big emphasis, because that sometimes generally is quite rare. You have like the three-legged buffalo. You have the 1922 Lincoln Cents with no D mint mark, because the D mint mark was effectively rubbed completely off the hub or off the die. Those things are the very, very few in minor die errors that turn out to have a market, thus value. Both of them have a very simple cause. Both of them are very, very common as to what made them happen. But then these days you have things like the arrow through the eagle on the Sacagawea dollar. You have, what's another good example? The speared bison 2005 D nickel. Things like that are things that they're damage on the die that transfers to the coins. And yes, they're progressive, and you can see them, and you can see a number of coins with it. Now, the difference between a die error and a die variety specifically is that a die variety is something that was put on the die during the process of creating the die to begin with. So if it's doubling, like what we're looking for right now, those were placed into the die prior to the die ever making a single coin. Correct. The 1997 doubled ear, along with a lot of other doubled ears, are doubled dies. They're actually something that happened on the die prior to the die ever being minted, or ever being placed into the chamber to mint coins. So die errors are things that happen while the die is actually pressing coins. So you get, a couple of 100,000 coins in, and something breaks or something changes, or the die gets damaged, or the die gets over-polished, or something happens, and the design is suddenly changed on that die. Die cracks, die splits, whatever you want to call it. And that continues to transfer on to the coins, possibly progressing as time goes on. However, it is very possible, by definition, that you could find coins that are totally and completely normal that were minted by the same die prior to that thing happening. Well, doubled dies, you can't do that. Doubled dies are doubled before they ever make one single coin. Yep, little die chips and die cracks and other things such as what might I say? Help me out here. Rim to rim die cracks, cuds, large die chips, broken dies. There's a number of things that are nice. Some people call major errors that have value because there is a market to follow No, struck throughs are a striking error. Struck throughs are something that you have a piece of crud that gets on the die and is struck through onto the coins, and you can see it as an indentation on the coin. However, that struck through piece could immediately fall off the die, and you might have 1, 2, 5 examples from that die pair. It has nothing to do with the markers on the die. It is all about what happened during the strike. That's not die errors. That's not what I'm talking about. Those are striking errors. Same thing with planchets if you have planchets that are incomplete, planchets that have split, planchets that have laminations, things like that are not striking errors. Those are planchet errors. So you have die errors, striking errors, and planchet errors. Or as we might put them in order, planchet, die, and strike being P, D, and S. Planchet, die, strike, which matches up to the mints that have forever minted Lincoln cents. Yes, double dies that came from masters that were doubled is a very real possibility, especially for the issue that we're looking through right now. 1972 is one of the big years that has a master die that was doubled that continued to make coins, or make dies, hubs, dies, then coins of all the different mints that have that same doubling. Is there more beard detail on the cheek of 72? I don't know. I'm not sure. All I know is that on a nice early die state, 1972, like this coin right here, you're going to see squiggly lines. Yeah, all of this, all of these squiggly lines were added onto a hub at one point. Master hub, probably master hub. They were carved into a positive design. So this is a positive design. So they weren't carved into the coins. They were carved in well ahead of the coin process. But yes, this area of the cheek up here also has some hair detail. And that detail was probably placed into the master hub prior to the master die, which then makes working hubs, which then make working dies, which then make your coins. So with one master hub, you can make a couple of dozen master dies, which can make a couple of dozen working hubs, which can each make a couple of dozen working dies, which can make 1 million, 2 million coins apiece. So you've got this pyramid of creation going on where you have one big master that makes 5 or 10 others, that each of those make a dozen, and then you're talking about hundreds, and then each of those make a dozen, then you're talking about thousands. So you've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 die pairs that are creating 500 million coins up to 2 or 3, 4 billion coins per facility. Nothing, dirty water, nothing. We gave this one a shot because it was a nice original 1972 roll. I accidentally opened it in a prior reveal, immediately noticed what I had done wrong, and put it back into a tube and saved it for when I could get the reveal done. And here we are doing the reveal. They are all the right kind of 1972 Lincoln cent to have been made during the period of time that the double dies were being made. However, none of these happen to be double dies. Has there ever been a doubled working hub that has also doubled that doubling onto the working die? Yes. That is actually a rather frequent thing. One such example that I can give you are most, if not all, of the Class 3 double die reverses for 1909. there are but a few different sets of markers for those, meaning that the dies that were doubled by hubs that were likely doubled by master dies. And so most of these would be a working hub doubled die. There's a lot that goes into this, and the people who don't know, or in some cases don't care, just dismiss them all as errors and walk away. And that simply is not the case. Simply is not the case. Die varieties are a collectible all unto their own. They have an entire following of people who do not follow nor collect errors. Oh, Mickey. I do not collect. I do not study errors. Don't have anything to do with them. I will help people identify errors. I understand the minting process to the extent that I can. Look at an error and tell you if it's a real error or if it's not. But that's as far as I care to go with errors. Double dies are not errors. Repunch mint marks are not errors. They are a completely different classification of collectible. It would almost be as I guess it would be about as comparable as someone opening up a rabbit farm, and you're farming rabbits, you're making rabbits, people are buying your rabbits from you, and suppliers are selling you rabbits, and one day somebody walks in and says, I've got these animals I want you to buy because you deal in animals. These are squirrels. You're like, I don't deal in squirrels. Why not? They're all small furry mammals. You may as well deal in those too because you have the equipment to deal. But yeah. You don't understand. I don't deal in squirrels. Well, but you should, because I have squirrels to sell you. No, I don't deal in squirrels. That's me. I don't do errors. I don't like errors. I don't have anything to do with them. I do die varieties. End of story. And with that, we have reached the end of the roll. Yes, I have errors. Yes, I sell errors when I have them. No, I don't study them. I will not write a book on them, and they are not my forte. So, speaking of errors, I have like an entire roll of broad-struck Lincoln cents. Nice broad-struck Lincoln cents, the size of a nickel. But I don't collect them. I don't go out looking for them. I don't specifically buy them. I will buy them, but I don't look for them to buy. Anyhow, I appreciate it. I am going to move on now to reveal number 750. That's going to be coming up here in just a few minutes. If you'd like to join me, go back out to the channel, find reveal number 750, and go in there and throw me a like and wait on me. I'll be there as soon as I can get set up. I appreciate it, folks. I'll see you here in just a few minutes.